Hi, I'm Simon. What I want to briefly talk about in this video is the subject of changing beliefs. Those who know me, who read my blog last year, will know that I came out with some strong statements, and I said that belief work can be dangerous. I said that it can cause some really serious damage to people, and I gave examples of that of a number of leading Theta Healing teachers who are in hospital. Some of you might have heard the story about me having a brain tumor. Vienna's unfortunately been using that story to try to discredit me, saying Simon's anti-Theta Healing because he had a brain tumor. So guys, just so you know, I don't have a brain tumor. But I did have something called an acoustic neuroma. It got better by surgery, and then doing belief work, or during that period I was doing belief work, it started growing again. Not overnight, I mean this took years and years and years. I developed a technique called RPT, which lets you get underneath beliefs, and what was left of the tumor disappeared. So, you know, there's something in that. Now I want to explain to you the science. See, last year when I said on my blog belief work was dangerous, I stopped short of actually explaining why. I just told people that they could read the Peak States book by McFetridge. So Grant published his book, and he presented the science but didn't mention the words Theta Healing. And for that reason, on my blog last year, I don't think it really convinced enough people. Now, I've been working with a team of psychologists, psychiatrists, and neuroscientists, and we really understand the science. The challenge I've accepted is to explain it to you in like 2 minutes or less. Here we go. The way that the brain works is there's different parts of our mind, different parts of our brain. If you've heard of the triune brain model, a simple way to put it is that there's the front part of the brain, what's called the neocortex or frontal cortex. There's a lower part of the brain called the limbic system or the mammalian brain, and then deeper down we have what's called the R complex, which is something that most animals, fish, reptiles, birds, all have something in common there. Now, here's where it gets really, really easy. Language is what sets humans apart. So language is a product of the frontal cortex. Only humans have that really advanced frontal cortex. Belief systems only exist in language, and language exists in the frontal cortex. Now, let's talk about healing modalities. There are healing modalities that work with beliefs, and there are healing modalities that work with emotions and feelings. We now have the science to ask this question: where in the brain are they affecting change? Now, I've been misquoted as saying that Theta Healing doesn't do anything. I got an angry letter from Vienna the other week saying, you're an idiot for saying that Theta Healing doesn't work. It does work. It is actually an effective way to change beliefs in the frontal cortex, and then you prove that using muscle testing. It works. It does that. Here's the problem. You change something in the frontal cortex, it doesn't automatically or in any way change what's in the limbic system or the R complex. Why would it? Now, if your problem is caused by something in the frontal cortex, then healing it in the frontal cortex solves your problem. What kind of problem is here? Well, things that existed in your life as an adult, okay? Because when you're newborn, the frontal cortex hasn't developed. So stuff that you were born with, it doesn't arise here. But a problem that happened to your life, let's say it's to do with your marriage breakup, your business failing, and if there was nothing similar that came before that, then that could be a current problem. It could be in the frontal cortex, and you could heal that. In other words, the origin of our problems is in place at the moment of our birth, and only 5 at the max 10% of our problems actually arise due to issues in this lifetime. In other words, if you're using a tool like belief work, you're missing more than 95%, we can prove more than 90%, and I think more than 95% of the origin of your problem. So what happens? Well, let's just say that the origin is in the limbic system, which is associated with the heart. What happens is this. At the moment, you have a problem. The problem's here, but at least the cortex and the heart are communicating. The problem's here, you're born with it, and as you grow up, as you're a little kid and you grow up, you develop beliefs. You're going to develop beliefs that are consistent with what's in your heart. So you have trauma in your heart, you develop negative beliefs in the cortex consistent with the heart, but at least they're communicating with each other. Now, let's say you have a tool like belief work and you start changing beliefs in the frontal cortex. What happens is you rupture that connection between the brain and the heart. You're not healing the trauma in the heart using belief work. You can't. It's just impossible, because belief work is changing language. The heart doesn't exist in language. Right? The heart radiates energy and feelings and vibrations, but not language. So what you're doing is you're severing that connection. Now we've got the heart still carrying trauma and sending out one message, and And we've got the brain now programmed with positive beliefs sending out another message. They're sending out different messages. I hope that explains at least the first question, why it doesn't work. It just doesn't get to the origin of the problem. The more difficult question is, why is that dangerous? Now, this is harder to prove scientifically. I can prove it logically. Who we are as a being has to do with what we represent and present ourselves as on this planet. There's a key word that I use in my RPT classes called coherence. It comes from Grant McFetridge's peak states work as well, although he doesn't use that word, but he also has this concept of uniting the minds, uniting the body mind, the heart mind, the brain mind. It's an idea that I've come across in different research, and I call it coherence for the simple reason that through the holographic model of the universe, if we present a coherent image of who we are, then we're healthy and we're strong. If we're incoherent about who we are, in other words, if we're portraying different images, things start to go wrong with our body. And it's been understood for a long time, and the evidence is in the Holographic Universe book by Michael Talbot, that cancer is a product of incoherence. In other words, when someone has cancer, the image and the message that they're projecting to the universe is incoherent. Now, let's just take that book. Now, I highly recommend, if you haven't read it, Michael Talbot's Holographic Universe. Let's take that information and let's see what could happen if you change the information being presented here and being presented here, to speak nothing of the art complex and the solar plexus and the body mind. You start getting one message sent here. That is the message, for example, the belief, I am healthy, I am well, I am abundant, here. Then we've got the heart sending the underlying trauma from pre-birth. And we've got the body, which contains deep, what are sometimes called animalistic, I don't like the word, but reptilian type codes that go back millions of years. We have one image being sent here. I realize my solar plexus is off camera, but one image from here, another image from the heart, another image from the brain. We lose coherence. We're no longer sending a clear message. We're creating a conflict between the heart mind and the brain mind. We become incoherent as beings. What would happen to you if you become incoherent as beings? You get sick. Now, the most obvious disease that causes is cancer, and it's really, really sad, but I've lost far too many of my Theta Healing friends to cancer. Okay, I can't prove the link, but I can tell you this, for a ironic choice of words, for a healing technique that's meant to be able to heal cancer, that supposedly arose from healing people, healing one person of cancer, how many Theta Healing teachers need to die of cancer before it's okay to talk about this? Okay, I want to dedicate this whole video to my friend Elsa Searle. Elsa was the woman who introduced me to Theta Healing. She was my very first healer, and she was the one that encouraged me to come with her to do a Theta Healing course. Now, she died alone of cancer a couple of years ago. Alone because, as a healer, I think she was too proud to tell anybody about it. Unfortunately, the first I knew about it was when she died. I wish that I could say that was an isolated case, but it's not. There's so many people have died. So many people have gotten sick. You know, you might have heard about Marcia having that massive tumor removed from her uterus last year. You might have heard about all the other people. You might have heard about what happened to Trisha the moment she spoke out about Theta Healing. You know, she found out about the massive breast cancer. You might have heard about all the other names of people that had tumors and other diseases that came after changing lots of beliefs. It's not been kosher to talk about this till now. I know that lots of people know this, lots of people have suspected this, but there's not been a forum or an opportunity to make this information public. Okay, so I'm sorry for any drama I create, but it's really necessary for us to be able to talk about this now. Okay, so once again, with honor and dedication to Elsa, I really hope I've done some community service here today by linking all these different things. Remembering again, belief work exists in language. Language only exists in the frontal cortex. The origin to our problems is almost never in the frontal cortex. Yes, it is 5% of the time, and that 5% of the time is that 5% that Theta Healing's effective. I'll give you that. 5% of the time it's effective, but you never know. You never know when it's safe, because you never know for sure, is the origin here, or is the origin here, or is the origin deeper? You need to go deeper. If you're using tools like belief work, you're trying to heal something here when the deeper issue is here, and what that does is it creates a rip, a break. It's called, in my language, incoherence of beingness. Instead of having a clear sense of being, you break the sense of being, and according to the holographic model of the universe by Michael Talbot, when you have an incoherent sense of being, you're not projecting a coherent message to the universe, you get really sick. I hope I've answered some questions here today. Feel free to leave comments, ask further questions. I'm going to do my very, very best as a public service to explain this to people. Thank you.